Good day and welcome to this installment of Commissioners Chat and Beyond. I am Ramanda Noble Watson, the Director of Communications and Public Relations for the South Carolina High School League, and I appreciate you taking the time out to view Commissioners Chat and Beyond. So today, after having the Associate Commissioners on and the Assistant Commissioners on and Directors on, I got a chance to pull the Commissioner himself, Dr. Jerome Singerson, back into the Commissioner part of the Commissioner Chat and Beyond. Welcome back in, Dr. Singerson.
Thank you, Romanda. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so we last time we got together it was 2025. So we're in 2026 right now, and we have a lot that we have to talk about.
Yes, we do.
All right, so we're going to get right into it. Let me get myself situated so we can get right into our conversation. And we're going to start with the Wrestling State Finals. We just recently closed out the Wrestling State Finals, which is our first winter sport championship. We did the duels as well as the individuals. Let's just talk about a little bit how did everything go with wrestling?
Well, again, they had a great season. Girls, boys, all boys had a great season, regular season. Then we got into the playoffs. And then all of a sudden we had this weather storm, snow and everything. It's kind of moved things around. But I am so happy, and we are so fortunate to have member schools that were willing to pitch in to help us to catch up and get our championship done. If you hadn't known, last year we only did one girls state championship.
That's right. This
year we did two. So there's a lot of growth going on in girls wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys wrestling, we had it at one site last year.
Right.
Well, this time we had to have it at multiple sites because the venue that we wanted to use wasn't available. Mm-hmm. But our member schools stepped up and allowed us to use their schools. We hosted two championships. Two championships at each site. So we used three sites.
Okay.
And I've got to give truly recognition for the Lexington One schools, Lexington High School, White Knoll High School, and Gilbert High School. They stepped in and allowed us to get our championship done, and it went fantastic. I mean, some of the best wrestling we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was fun for me. I had to go from site to site, dealing with the media. So it was good to be able to go out and see some of the schools that we deal with on a regular basis, and just to talk to some of the administration. It was really, I really enjoyed speaking to their administration and thanking them in person for allowing us, like you said, for hosting us for those. And listen, it wasn't just, can you host? It was a 2-3 day turnaround, if that, for them to host. So we definitely truly appreciate them stepping in. And you touched on something. You touched on having two championships, and this is dual team championships for girls wrestling. When the inaugural season we had one, which was the 24, I'm sorry. So this year we were able to have two. That definitely speaks to the growth of girls wrestling.
It's steady growing. The numbers of female athletes that are wrestling now is continuing to grow. I wouldn't be surprised if we added another class in another year or two. So it's really growing for us. We're really fortunate that we have coaches that are really compassionate and passionate about it,
right?
So that we can offer these type of things to our student athletes.
Absolutely, and so as I said, that's our first winter sport, and now we're getting ready to close out. So we only have two sports for winners championships. We're about to close that out. We are coming up on the lower state and upper state semifinals. At this junction, we just completed the round, taking them to that what we call the semifinals. That's going to lead them to all roads lead to Colonial Life. But so with that, we're going to talk about when are the semifinals for lower state and upper state, and exactly where are they?
So again, as we talk about it, basketball is probably one of the more exciting sports that we offer. A lot of our schools offer it. The regular season has been great, and as we started the playoff, we had some close games, and we're narrowing it down.
Absolutely.
So we've finally gotten down to what you said, what we would call our semifinals. We've got a little bit different than we have in the past. In the past, we held the semifinals and the finals at the same venue.
Right.
So which means we had the lower state and the upper state all at the Florence Center.
Right.
And then we did the state at the Florence Center. But this year is going to be just a little bit different. First and foremost, the championships are going to be held back at the Colonial Life Arena. We've held it there for years in the past for years. And now we're back. So we no longer will the finals be at the Florence Center.
Okay.
We're going to have our semifinals at the Florence Center for the lower state.
For the lower state
That's
only.
Will be on lower state only on the 27th and 28th, I believe.
Correct.
Friday and Saturday. But the upper state is going to be a little bit unique. We're going to go back to allowing them, the two schools that compete in the semifinals, to come up with a neutral site on their own. where they'll play their contest. So we'll have, in the upper state, it won't be one site, it could be multiple sites. Now, there may be multiple games at one site,
Right.
but it's not one site for all games. And that's a little unique. It allows our schools in the upper state to find something that's a little bit more geographically friendly to them.
So,
As
right.
far as definitely
Correct.
is not in the middle of the state. So it's a little bit more geographically friendly to them.
Right.
It's a little bit different, but it'll work out for them.
Absolutely.
And then we have the lower state, of course, which is going to be at the Florence Center, and they've done a fantastic job.
They really
time
have.
and time again. So we look forward to going back there.
All right, and so the information for Upper State, at this junction, we don't have all the sites, but that will be on the website here shortly, and probably in the next day or so, depending on when you're watching this. It may already be up, depending on when you're looking at the commissioner's chat and beyond. But so we are excited about that, and like I said, all roads leads to CLA, or as Dr. Singh just said, Colonial Life Arena. So I'm excited to see who's coming out of the brackets. I truly am. I'm excited to see some more good basketball
Yes.
for high school sports. So we talked about our winter sports and opening them and closing them. So now we have to talk about, I like to call it a hot topic. Every 2 years, it's a hot topic, and that's the reclassification and realignment. We completed that. We got through it. So some people who are viewing may or may not know exactly how often that's done and what goes into it. Can you talk about, first and foremost, how often do you do the reclassification realignment, and then secondly, what goes into determining classifications?
Sure. We do it every 2 years.
Okay.
So last 2 years ago, we did it for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now this year, we're going to get it lined up for the next 2 years, 26 through 28.
26, okay.
26 through 28. And the process actually begins probably mid-October
Okay.
to November. We
Okay.
try to take the 45-day enrollment count
Right.
from our schools, and then we try to place them in classification and regions based on their numerical or their enrollment count.
Okay.
Now, there's some other factors that are involved.
Mhm.
One is last year they instituted, or the last time they did it, they instituted a 3-point multiplier for our schools.
Right.
And those are students that live outside the attendance area of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Those students count as 3 as opposed to those that live within the attendance area of the school.
Okay.
Those count as 1. So what happens, we take those numbers and we do the math, and some of the schools' numbers get inflated because of the fact they have
Absolutely.
a lot of students that live outside of their attendance area.
Right.
But what we found is that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the numbers are inflated for some of our schools, they've fared well in competing over the past few
Absolutely.
years. So they came back and decided to do it again.
Okay.
So that's how we did to break them down in the classifications.
Okay. So after classifications, there's another step to that realignment process, and then we're talking about the regions.
Yes.
So before we get to the regions, you put them in classifications based on those numbers. Do they stay in those classifications? Do they have an opportunity to get out of those classifications? What happens after, okay, here are the final classifications based on what South Carolina High School League has determined. What's the next step after that?
Sure. So all the guidelines that we use are actually established before we even list the school.
Okay.
That way, it doesn't matter what school it is. We have a plan in place, so there's no subjectivity to it
Mhm.
because we don't know who's what. So
Okay.
we do it while there's no names and no faces attached.
Right.
Our realignment guidelines committee is the one that create those guidelines, and then we're supposed to follow those.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get those guidelines and we do the math, we apply the schools to the classification, they have an opportunity to appeal their class.
Okay.
They can appeal that to the exec committee and be able to change the class. In fact, some of that happened this year.
Right.
Where you were
Right.
able to move out of a class into another class. Again, we haven't even decided on what region you're in yet. We're just
Right.
basing it on your classification. So there's always that opportunity to go before the exec committee to have your classification appealed. And if denied, you get an opportunity to appeal to the appellate panel and to have your classification changed. Once that's finalized, we can begin the region placement process.
And that's when the final classification come out. So we give you a preliminary let's just say a sub-final, for lack of a better term, and then once all the appeal process is done, then you get the final classification, so no more changing. Now we're ready for the regions.
That's correct. That
Okay,
becomes the
so,
next step.
so the next step is the regions. What's the process of putting teams in certain classifications in certain regions?
So let's talk about the guidelines that was established this time.
Okay.
They said let's have regions of 6 to 8 schools.
Okay.
In some cases, no more than 10 in a region.
Okay.
But 6 to 8 school is the magic number. A lot of times we end up having 5. A lot of times we end up having 7
Okay.
in each region. But we do it geographically. We try to figure out what's the most geographical friendly region that a school can be placed in, so that they don't have to travel so far
Right.
for the regular season. We
Right.
try to make it where it's more geographically friendly, which means 2 regions can be right next door to each other, and one's got 8, and the other has 7.
Right,
Or
right.
one's got 6, and the other's got 8. So,
Yeah.
but we think that it's better to assign them geographically than to try to make sure that they have the same number of schools in each region.
Okay, and then that appeal process starts
Same
over,
process.
and so it's the same process. If you don't like your region, or you think that you can get in a better region based on what you say the geographics, you see the executive committee. Then if it's approved, you move on. If it's not, then you go to appellate panel, and then that's the final say.
That's true.
And then once all the appeals are done, you have your final classification along with your final regions, and that's when we have that came out. I think it was like mid-January or early February, something to that magnitude. So we do have the final for the 24-26 biennial classification and realignment.
And one step that also was added when we do regions, you get the appeal to the classification
Oh, that's
of the region that you
okay.
wish to go in, and the classification of the region that you wish to leave.
Oh, okay. So there's all types of things that can
Yes.
possibly get you to where you want to go. So thanks for explaining that to some of us, some of those, not us, because I had to learn that. So I definitely know that process, but wanted to make sure that the viewers know exactly how the classifications and that it's just not something that we pull out of the hat.
That's true.
All right, so we talked about that, and we're going to go on to, which is another hot topic. We are the South Carolina High School League office, and we go by the constitution and bylaws that the memberships, which are the member schools, put into place. So each year, they are allowed to do proposals for rule changes or constitution and bylaw changes. Talk about when that process started and who's allowed to do those proposals.
Sure, great question. More so now than ever in the past, schools are changing, continuously changing, markedly changing. So the school that we recognize today may not be the school that we see 3 years from now.
Right.
Or the school that we remember 2 years ago is not the school that we see now. Things are changing. So our rules need to be addressed the same way, change
Okay.
along with the schools.
Right.
We review our bylaws and constitution every year.
Every year.
Every
Okay.
year. While schools are allowed to submit a proposal for a change, and if the majority of the schools agree with that change, then it becomes a new bylaw or becomes a change bylaw. Principals, athletic directors, any of those in our, not athletic directors, I'm sorry, principals and superintendents,
Okay.
any of those that are part of our member schools have the ability to submit a proposal. Doesn't mean that if they submit it, that it'll pass. But they get an opportunity to submit a proposal for the entire membership to review.
Okay.
And then we can determine whether that becomes a new rule or not. If they don't agree with it, then it doesn't change. If they do, it changes. Now there's a process that's in place. They submit it prior to January 1.
Okay.
Once I collect all of those proposals from any school that wishes to send it, I give them a call and try to get a clear understanding of the intent of their proposal.
Gotcha.
Once I get an understanding of the intent of their proposal, we present it to the executive committee, who only gives an opinion of whether it should be supported or not.
Okay.
They have no authority as to whether it passes.
So they don't
or
vote
fails.
on that or
They
anything.
can vote, but it doesn't mean anything.
Gotcha.
Other
Okay.
than an opinion.
Okay.
Okay, and once they've given their opinion, we take it to each classification and explain what the rule is, what's the impact of the change, because I've talked with the author, what the challenges are, and what the opportunities that the change brings in.
Okay.
And then it's their responsibility, because they are in regions, they get to select a delegate.
Okay.
to be their representation. And they can look at those proposals and they direct their delegate from their region as to whether they voted positive or voted negative.
Gotcha.
If it gets 2/3 majority vote from the entire membership, then it passes.
Okay.
If it doesn't get 2/3 majority vote from the membership, it fails.
So that shows that this is a membership-based organization. They're the ones who send in their proposals. If they don't like something that they may see that they can do a change, and they submit it, and it goes through the voting process of such.
Exactly. And I'm very careful not to try to influence them one way or the other.
Absolutely.
I just give them all the information.
Right.
One other piece to it is that this office has the ability to submit bylaw changes.
Okay.
But we only look at it when it has an impact statewide that the individual schools may not be made aware of. Because
Right.
we're aware of all the challenges that come with our rules. So
Absolutely.
if there's one that can make it more user-friendly, then we look at trying to present those things to you. But again, doesn't mean that it'll pass. Doesn't mean that'll fail.
Just because it comes from the league doesn't mean they're going to vote it up.
Bring it to their attention, and then they
Right.
make a decision on it.
All right. Well, I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I have to talk about the bill that is circulating around the House right now. Talk about the bill. I know you've gone down to the State House several times and sat in on the meetings. Talk about the bill and what impact could it possibly have on the South Carolina High School League, or just talk about the bill in general.
Yeah, so we're on the same page. Which bill are we referring to? 4163?
4163.
4163, yeah. That's a bill where the legislators are looking to create a new, for lack of a better term, a new South Carolina High School League. I
Okay.
think it's called the South Carolina Athletic Association.
Yes,
South
something to
Carolina
that.
High School Athletic Association.
Yes, something like that.
That bill is to replace the operations of the South Carolina High School League. Now, there's a difference.
Okay.
Currently, the South Carolina High School League operates at the will of the membership. The
Okay.
membership creates the rules, membership decides what's going to be in place, how things are going to be done. They make all those decisions. This bill creates another body that will allow an 11-man or 11-person panel or committee to create the rules, review the rules, decide what rules are applicable, and the likes.
Okay.
There's a difference. So
Okay.
the South Carolina High School League, the ownership or the operations is dictated by the membership.
Okay.
The South Carolina High School Athletic Association, it will be a selected group that will dictate all the challenges and changes that come to it.
And those are selected by the state.
And those are selected by the state.
Okay. So just wanted to sit down with you and get some happenings of the South Carolina High School League and what our viewers can possibly look forward to. Tell me, Dr. Singleton, what else did we leave anything out, or is there anything else that you want to talk to our viewers and just make them aware of?
Truly. And what I want them to truly understand is that, while there are challenges of this association, the South Carolina High School League has been in existence since 1913, and they've tried to adapt to the changes as things occur. And as you stated earlier, this office has no authority to make any rules.
Right.
We don't have the authority to write any rule that's going to go immediately into effect. So while we are recognized as the gatekeeper of the rules, recognize that the membership owns the rules. It's their rules. It's their league. It's their association. We operate as a paid staff to do the job that we've been hired to do to, for lack of a better term, to regulate the rules that they have in place. So I would encourage you that if you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to give this office a call, because we do it every day, all day. But we also want to encourage you, if you're a school, recognize that you have ownership to this organization. And if you're a general public, recognize that you can call your school and get answers to most of your questions. But again, we have no authority to create or write any of the rules. We can only enforce what the membership has given us.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that and for closing us out. And that's all I have for you. Thank you for letting me pull you away as we winding down to the state semifinals for basketball. I am Ramanda Noble Watson, the Director of Communications and Public Relations for the South Carolina High School League. I am sitting here with Dr. Jerome Singleton, the Commissioner of the South Carolina High School League. And this has been an installment of Commissioner's Chat and Beyond.